Fresh Take is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subject matter. You've been warned. Enjoy the show. What it is, what it do? Just when you thought we were done, Joel, he pulled us back in. It's clobbering time in Ultimate Fighting. CM Punk, Phil Brooks, don't know what he's going to be gone by, is officially going to the UFC.
Full time.
Full time. So, I want to rant, you want to rant. Since I did a majority of the rant for the first Colt Cabana thing, I'm going to let you start off this one, Joel.
I just want to say something. The guy that leaves because his health is in jeopardy and is in danger because of fake scripted professional wrestling goes to where someone could actually break your limbs and choke you out. Dumb. It's what happens when Dana White screws him over? Because Dana White's just Vince McMahon, but bald and in the UFC.
More personable and more in touch.
Yeah, but we know that Dana White could potentially cause, there could be friction there.
This is one of the smartest signing Dana White's ever done. Not by quality of fighter, and we don't know nothing about Punk. All we know is from that Gracie fight that we saw him. Like, he's been training with the Gracies, which are UFC, MMA, really, royalty.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with Punk, and we've seen him use some stuff in wrestling, but we don't know how that translates over to it.
I just don't know. I think the same doubt when Lesnar first jumped over.
See, I didn't have as much doubt with Lesnar. I think maybe it's because he's bigger, and I just thought he would destroy people. So, what division is he in? Do we know that?
Right now, from what I was reading and what I kind of gathered, he's going to be testing the middleweight to see how that feels for him, and then he's going to...
Joel, give us an idea who's in the middleweight, the big names.
Well, there's Anderson Silva that's going to be coming back, but he's on the decline right now. John Bones Jones.
That fight, now, would that fight happen? Because I just think John Jones would just destroy him.
Well, it may be the one UFC fight I'd root for Punk.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Jones. Yeah. I think he's phony.
Well,
he's fake.
And Joel, there's a lot of ranting on here we have to do, especially with the Colt Cabana podcast that came out. But Dana White's best buy rate was UFC 100 when he had Brock versus Frank Mir number 2, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think that's because he drew in the appeal that the UFC fans already had, and then he got all the wrestling fans over. And there is no one hotter right now than Phil Brooks in these past 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And UFC's kind of, and I'm like, sorry to all UFC fans that are really watching us for the first time. Welcome to Fresh Take. Joel and I aren't the most knowledgeable about UFC. We know names here and there. We're mainly the wrestling guys, and this is kind of diving into us. We're going to be obviously watching these fights. But this is one of the biggest names right now in sports is CM Punk. He's just the highest rated podcast in the past 2 weeks. It beat American Life Serial, which is one of the biggest podcasts of the year.
He is a hot name. He's going to draw in not only the CM sheeps that will follow him to the ends of the earth, but everyone that wants to see him get his ass kicked will be at that fight. So it's going to be an amazing buy rate. And if I was Dana White, and I wanted to be a bit of slime ball, which I would try to have him ready for beginning of April, ending of March. There's nothing big going on there.
Do we have any major... So, are you almost thinking that he could do the Super Bowl show?
I'm thinking they may have him go close to WrestleMania. Just to screw them over.
This could be crazy for Dana, too, because he could potentially have CM Punk and Brock Lesnar in the company this year. Now, and my question is, too, Joel, Dana must know something that we don't. Because there must be some stuff that he's seen from CM Punk that makes him want to join on, because you would think like even like a Batista would be a better maybe addition because Batista actually had experience and fought.
Yeah.
Same with Bobby Lashley, and we're just going by ex-pro wrestlers here. Bobby Lashley's having a pretty decent career in Bellator right now. And Batista's, I think he's had 1 or 2 fights, and I believe he's won both of them. CM Punk, we don't know anything about him in MMA style. At least with Brock, we kind of got to see him in that Japan environment, which is getting a little closer.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it came down to maybe it was the Gracie said, "Yeah, this guy can go." How old is he, Josh? How old is CM Punk?
I believe he's 36. Keep on talking, and I will do some research right now, Joel.
If you are correct and he is 36, this is a very limited window, and he even said that himself. I don't know how long he's going to be able to go. I just don't see this being successful. I don't know. Maybe I'm doubting. Maybe I'm upset.
He just turned 36. October 26th is his birthday.
He could prove us wrong. He could be amazing in
He's
that.
10 years older than his wife.
I
doesn't matter. There's a little nitbit right there, but okay. So there's a lot that I want to hit on with this. We said we just do 5 minutes, Joel, and I promise we'll try to make it as short as possible. There's just so many things to hit on here. So let's start with the root of the rant for both of us, and it was the thing that I kind of just roughed away when we first did it. His biggest angerment with WWE, I think, is now the wedding thing. Obviously, the injuries did not bother him, especially when he talked about he was ready to come back after WrestleMania. So let's take all injury stuff and we'll rant about that, but let's throw that out the window because obviously, much like you pointed earlier, it obviously didn't bug him as much as we thought it would if he's going to be jumping into this kind of competition.
And this competition is going. He's a marked man going in.
Oh, absolutely.
People look at him as
the
this
fake wrestler guy.
He's not only the fake wrestler guy, but he's the guy that some people perceived as whining on a podcast about and walking out on his contract. So I think a lot of them that creates an even bigger bullseye. That's going to create a lot of. I'm very interested in kind of what promos we see from him because we know they're going to cut promos.
That will be fun for us again to see him on the stick again.
Yeah.
Part of me is kind of excited about this, Joel, because we just wanted to see him in an environment where we get to enjoy him as fans.
Yeah.
And that part's exciting. I mean, the build-up to this CM Punk fight, wherever they do it, they know it's going to be a big buy rate. And Dana knows it, again, because of how well this podcast just did. Everybody wants to see CM Punk on pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah. Man, you could place it anywhere in the world, and I think it would sell out instantly. This would be the main event. This would be the highlight. I will be at a pub. This will be the first time I was at a pub since a George St. Pierre fight.
I think the last one I saw was the Johnny Hendricks fight. After GSP had to put the belt up, and Johnny Hendricks faced, I can't remember, I think Lawler. I think it was Johnny Hendricks and Lawler.
I think so.
And that was actually a really good fight. And UFC has been starving for star power too. Because you could argue, Joel, this year, I think the biggest name the UFC has is Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and no respect to John Jones, but with GSP having his problems and Silva being back, and there's names coming up, but Johnny Hendricks, for example, isn't someone that's in the mainstream media. CM Punk is that. He is in the mainstream media. He is a superstar.
If Zack Ryder announced he was going to UFC, we would not be podcasting right now.
No.
At all.
No.
But it's CM Punk.
Yeah.
Someone that our whole world seems to somehow always come back to.
We just did a podcast saying we were done with him, and guess not.
No. And
I guess one fall now, Joel, will become a wrestling/UFC podcast. Because with the rumors of Brock and what Bobby Lashley's doing, and Batista even put some stuff of him training today. So there's another little nibble in the wrestling world right there. But so the health thing, both of us are a little concerned or a little wary about that after just making such issue on that.
He's had, what would you say, 2-3 concussions from what we know of?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there and put my chin out and see who hits it harder.
And Joel, for some of the UFC fans that are joining, there's guys in wrestling that are known as being stiff. That means they're hitting a little bit harder than normal. Wrestling guys that some people may remember from the Attitude Era would be like a Hardcore Holly and a William Regal and Bradshaw. These are guys that are contained stiff. CM Punk has never really been labeled as stiff. I think he can take stiff shots, but he's never been one of those guys that are snug or stiff in the ring.
Yeah, I just don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. He obviously wants to do it, so let him do it.
Yeah.
Let him go out. We get to hear him come out to Cult of Personality again, so it'll be...
That was my question. Do you think he will come out to Cult of Personality, or do you think he'll come out to something else? We know that he has buddies in bands and whatnot.
I kind of hope so. It's so synonymous with him now that I kind of hope we...
Chances WWE lets AJ come down to the ring with him.
Like negative 1,000? There's no way.
No,
it's barbaric.
Yeah, it's barbaric. I mean,
let women fight.
We had heard earlier today that there was a rumor of it, and do you really think that it is just Dana White? Obviously, like I said priorly, that it has to be something that he knows and we don't know. But do you think it's really him? Sorry, save that question. Sorry, Joel. Do you think it's really him trying to strike where the iron is hot?
I think it is, but I'm going to flip that around.
Okay,
do you think this is Dana White going, he's a good fighter, or he'll be a good draw for a few pay-per-views and we can get some money?
We know for sure it's a good draw. Absolutely, it's a good draw. Especially with everything that's been put around him. We haven't seen this guy in active fighting competition. By the time he fights, if you're thinking around March, the last time he fought was the end of January at the Royal Rumble, so it'll be about 13, 14 months since he's actually fought. So that anticipation is already there. And now, Joel, I almost wonder, did he know this signing was going to happen? And did the Colt podcast get released at the right time and everything is perfectly calculated?
I think so. I'm starting to think that this was all to... Because his name was kind of dying out there.
And my other question is, we talked about this mildly on One Fall. The one time we talked about MMA, remember I told you Dana White had this big press conference with this major announcement? Would this have been the major announcement possibly? Or do you think this really came across in the last little bit?
I think this came across after all the legal settlement was done. And now...
And that's funny you talk about the legal thing. Our own Chad Coughlin, I'm just texting back and forth with him about this. He said he thought that he had a non-compete. That was one of the things that was picked out. So
I think that got kicked out of the settlement. I think Punk wanted it, and I think that's one of the things he wanted out, and WWE's like, fine. So I think they may have kept the TNA, but they may have removed the UFC.
Yeah. So, wow. This is... You know, we have our sports review coming up, Joel, and now I think with this, it's officially leaked into it now.
It's not only leaked into that, but it'll be part of the wrestling. We're still going to talk about him. We're going to talk about when he fights. Win or lose, he's still going to have an impact. I do think right now, based on everything I've kind of seen, he's going to lose. He's got a big mark on his back, and I just don't know.
What have we seen? The closest thing we've seen him do for jiu-jitsu is some of the kicks and the Anaconda Vice.
Yeah.
And
do we see the Anaconda Vice as his winning move?
No, well, if he can get it. Like, it's one thing for Ronda to get the armbar on all the time, because Ronda's just dominant. And there was also, maybe, like, I don't want to get into speculation or stuff, but there was also rumors of him and Ronda being very close, so they're going to be working a lot closer now.
Yeah, it's going to be... very interesting time.
What is Vince and Hunt? Who's madder at this signing? I think Vince is madder at this signing now.
I think Vince is, yeah, because it's going to kill him. It's absolutely... And they're going to make sure it happens during WrestleMania, just to really stiff him.
And you heard Vince in his thing that he doesn't really consider like TNA. He considers other properties, like Disney and stuff, and other business moguls, rivals. He's got to consider Dana White a rival. Like, Dixie Carter...
He's got to consider Dana White's been beating
Dixie Carter is not a rival. Dana White is a rival because technically, for all those people from the Attitude Era that are gone, and they're always trying to find them, Joel, they're like, where do they go? Where do they go? They're watching the UFC. And some of those people came back for the pipe bomb. And they're like, that's the one guy I like, is that CM Punk guy. And now he's there.
You really... You screwed up. You screwed up big time, and now it'll be very interesting to see. I don't Hunter is going to be like, oh well, he's going to get beat up,
Of course he will.
and that'll be it. That'll be it.
I don't want to jump to a conclusion and say he's going to get his ass kicked because he's training with the Gracies, and they obviously are legendary. The question to me is, do you fight? Does Dana kind of do what he did with Kimbo Slice? Does he kind of remind you of what Kimbo Slice was for him? Or is he a bigger draw than Kimbo Slice?
I think he's a Brock Lesnar.
So you think he's a bigger draw than what Kimbo was?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
So because with Brock, he threw him like Kimbo, he kind of threw them with mid guys, so he can maybe try to jump up on them. Brock, he threw him right in with Frank Mir. So do you think he goes right against a big name?
Yeah. I think he'll go against...
Because whatever that card is, he's going to be the top draw on there, barring maybe like a Ronda fight or something.
He is going to... Man, if we could do our fantasy booking that we like to do, Josh, if I can have him face John Bones Jones...
The promos for that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, and man, I'm a little excited for this. I'm not going to lie. It'll be nice to see him, with a mic in his hand and his ability to go out there. And if he comes in and he beats John Bones Jones...
It's also a multi-year deal.
So he's there. He's
in there for the long haul. So
no WrestleMania 32, Josh.
No, definitely not. So that is done. That is done. We actually have a video from UFC of CM Punk talking. I'm going to see if I can get it over the... So let's see if we can get it. One second.
Hey UFC fans, this is CM Punk, and I will see you in the Octagon 2015.
So there it is, Joel.
Yeah, he's calling himself CM Punk. I think they'll go
Will Dana let him stay with that?
He owns it. That's what everyone knows. You'd be crazy to say, no, you can't use CM Punk.
Because you can't call him Phil CM Punk Brooks. That just sounds weird.
Yeah, it's CM Punk.
They did have it on the picture we put on Instagram. You can see when we broke the news. And he is talking to Joe Rogan. He had that as the disclaimer at first. You can hear him there saying that he's CM Punk. Also, interesting news, he will be on Ariel Helwani's podcast after UFC tonight.
Oh, that'll be the number one podcast now. That's everyone's gonna want to listen to that. Oh boy.
Here we go, Joel.
Yeah, when you think we're done and he'll write some comments.
Now I wonder too, because you hear JBL always say, "Oh, Brock Lesnar beat Randy Couture." I wonder if UFC is banned from talking WWE now.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that there are going to be some very sour grapes right now. There's not, for not being a competition, they are not going to mention UFC.
You know what would be the dream matchup, though, Joel, as far as mic work? And it can happen in a year. Because one of them is suspended. 1 year from now, Chael Sonnen for CM Punk.
That would be scary.
That's if they had their choice, I'm sure, what they would like to do. But would they do it because they're friends?
Why not?
But the promos back and forth for that?
I think we can both agree that CM Punk can say it's not about the money, but money talks to him, clearly. He's going to go out there and he's going to... They could tell him you get this X number of dollars for facing Chael Sonnen, and I think he'll do it.
Yep.
Oh boy,
this has definitely taken over the news right now. Every outlet is reporting on it, like that I can see. ESPN's talking on it. Fox is talking on it. TSN's talking on it. The Score, Sportsnet, BBC Sport, Sky Sport. Obviously, the UFC is talking about it. Bleacher Report is talking about it. It is the biggest story right now, Joel.
Dana White used the hashtag WWE to announce "Welcome to the UFC, CM Punk."
He's trolling with that. He's trolling with that.
He's having some fun, and Lance Storm even said you got to respect CM Punk for having the balls to do what he wants. Win or lose, if he steps into the cage, he's a bigger man than most.
Yeah,
and he is.
I give him the credit because we heard Taker say it was safe to say if he was a little bit younger, he would have done this.
Oh yeah, and he would have been scary.
Yeah, and this, and I think Batista, if he would have stuck with it, would have had it. But obviously, Hollywood called the Batista more, so that will be his world. I will give credit. I'm still a huge CM Punk fan. I'm not like you and I have kind of came up with some of these guys, CM sheep. But I'm really happy just that I get to see him in an environment again.
Yeah,
and I am a little wary because I don't know how good he's going to be because I haven't seen him do much more than train with the Gracies.
And that's the big thing is where is he skill wise? And Colt Cabana just tweeted, "Now I got to learn how to hold one of those flags over an octagon." So Colt Cabana will be out there with him.
I mean, you almost wanted to go on Colt Cabana's podcast again this week. It just never ends.
It won't. It honestly won't. It will not stop. We are going
I
to
always feel bad for WWE. It's like, oh, we got the Slammies this week. It'll be fine. Guess what? CM Punk to UFC. They're like, God damn it! Stop doing this.
One of the guys that I follow, one of the writers I follow, said, "I hope Triple H walks CM Punk to the ring for Punk's UFC debut next year." That'd be interesting. That would go over real well, wouldn't it?
I'm sure it would.
You just see him, just as Punk's walking up the stairs, Triple H will pull out his sledgehammer, and he'll hit him in the knee because it's Triple H.
So Ariel, actually, it wasn't on his podcast. He actually did an interview with him for Fox Sports, and he just posted it to his Twitter and his Instagram, and it will air post-fight after tonight on Fox Sports. So for us in Canada, we won't see that. I'm sure it'll be digged up somewhere on YouTube. That audio will obviously be somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's
CM Punk does have the look of an MMA fighter, though. I think that was the one thing that always kind of was unique about him. And when he talked on Colt's podcast about wearing those shorts, Joel, you could kind of see the idea of how that would really work for him.
Yeah, I think he's the hottest name in sports, and he's taken it over. He's a smart man. Has he bitten off more than he can chew? That's the biggest question we have right now.
And I think that adds to the intrigue of the pay-per-view.
But regardless whether he's bitten off more than he can chew, you would never step into a UFC ring. I would never step into it. I wouldn't classify for any of their weight classes, Josh. I'd be like, can you create the super
mega lightweight?
The paper division.
There was some rumors for a little bit that he was going to fight the Green Ranger in a mixed martial art fight. I'm almost glad he didn't, because what if he did lose? He didn't have any leverage. But obviously, again, and we're going to wrap up pretty fast here, because me and Joel just wanted to do this originally for 5 minutes.
I have a Flames game to watch.
Yeah, I know. Dana signing him to a multi-year deal says a lot, Joel. That means that he knows something that nobody else really knows, that he has some faith, and he's heard from trainers and all that maybe Punk is good enough to be in here for the long haul.
Yeah. And even if he's not, well then, you know what? You just throw him in a match. He'll be what Brock Lesnar is to WWE right now. We'll bring him out, we'll let him fight, people will pay to see it. I think people, regardless, will pay to watch CM Punk fight because A, CM Punk is an amazing promoter in himself, and B, he's fighting. He's going into a territory that it's not a friendly territory. He's going to be swimming with the sharks, and I think it'll be very. Now, Josh, my ultimate question to you:
Yeah,
does this impact if he ever wanted to come back?
No. Because I still think guys have done worse.
They've jumped ship to WCW in the middle of a big war. WWE's not in a war right now.
Number one, he's not. It's not like he did this in the middle of under his contract, right? Like, yeah. I mean, and Brock went to UFC, and there was no ill will against him. They're just going to realize how big of a pay-per-view draw he is, and that's going to want them. let's put it this way. For them, it's weird too now, Joel, because is the UFC really a rival for them? Because they're not going head and head on pay-per-view, but at the same time, they still kind of are rivals. It's a weird dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, they are and they aren't, but
they were more when the pay-per-view buys are coming up, and you had a month where you're like, oh, I could buy Extreme Rules, or I could buy UFC whatever. Which one am I going to buy? Now you have the network and you do that. You can kind of do both.
Yeah, you can kind of do both.
But it's definitely going to bring more eyes to them. And if you're WWE and you're Vince, one of the main reasons is this product you helped grow, they're kind of just taking it over there, which is very reminiscent of Hogan and WCW. It's like, we built this guy. He's almost who he is because of us. And now he's going to go over there, and they're going to benefit from everything that he's done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the Punk story is. In a way, it's the closest thing we've had in a modern age to Hogan going from WWE to WCW. Would you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think so. I could agree with that. Do you see him coming out with an NWO shirt?
No. He'll have his own merch. He has all the stuff on WrestlingTees.com.
Yeah.
Does he do clobbering time?
This is going to be very interesting to see how much he changes it up, but old habits die hard. He's been doing it for 14 years. Mm-hmm. Probably long. He's been doing this for almost 20 years.
First fight, you'd think probably comes out with Ace Steel and with Colt. Maybe with Gallows.
Yeah.
We'd love to see AJ, but I don't think that'll happen. Depending what happens. And then I think maybe the Gracies. Maybe Batista.
Yeah.
I think he's under contract technically still.
It'll be very interesting to see.
So, I mean, huge breaking news. Anything else that we have, we will come to you. Any last points, Joel?
It's going to be It's going to be the craziest year for pop culture, sports, wrestling next year. We get the passing of the torch potentially to Roman Reigns. We get CM Punk fighting. We get a whole bunch of movies. We have comic books.
Hopefully, good music for next year. This year was
I'm not gonna be able to sleep. I don't sleep anyways, and now I'm gonna lose even more sleep.
Well, until next time, cheers.
Well, I guess it is clobbering time.
It's clobbering time!